It was just another busy afternoon at the corporate office when a delivery man walked in, carrying a package like he had done 100 times before. But instead of a simple drop-off, he was met with cold stares and whispered insults. The staff sneered at his uniform, mocking him as if he didn't belong. One manager even pointed at the door, laughing, "Get out, this isn't your place." Little did they know, the man they were ridiculing wasn't just a delivery worker. He was the owner of the entire company. As the tension in the room built, he remained calm, watching their arrogance unfold. Would they recognize their mistake before it was too late? Or would their own ignorance cost them everything? Stay tuned, because what happens next will leave everyone in shock. This isn't just a story about disrespect. It's about the power of humility, justice, and a lesson they'll never forget. The room fell silent for a moment as the delivery man stood there, his expression unreadable. The manager, still smirking, crossed his arms. "What's taking so long?" "Just drop the package and go," he scoffed. A few employees chuckled, shaking their heads as if the man's presence was an inconvenience. But instead of reacting, the delivery man simply looked around, taking in the expensive office furniture, the sleek glass walls, the employees who barely acknowledged his presence except to mock him. He had built all of this from the ground up, yet here he was, being treated like an outsider in his own company. One of the executives leaned over and muttered, "I don't even know why they let people like him in here." The delivery man clenched his jaw but stayed composed. If only they knew who they were really talking to. And soon they would. The delivery man took a slow breath, his grip tightening around the package. He had worked for years to build this company, yet the very people he had trusted to run it were now showing their true colors. He could feel the weight of their judgmental stares, their assumptions shaping how they saw him before he even spoke a word. One of the younger employees hesitated, sensing something was off. "Hey, maybe we should." He started, but the manager waved him off. "Please, he knows where the exit is," the manager said with a smirk. The woman beside him laughed, rolling her eyes. The delivery man remained silent, his patience tested, but he wasn't here to argue. He had come for a reason, and soon they would all understand. He glanced at the company logo on the wall, his company, his vision. And yet, in this very room, he was treated like he didn't belong. But that was about to change. The delivery man took a step forward, setting the package down on the receptionist's desk. The room felt colder now, the tension thick in the air. The manager narrowed his eyes. "What's the holdup? Do you need directions out?" His voice was laced with arrogance, completely unaware of the moment he was walking into. The younger employee shifted uncomfortably, sensing something was wrong. But the others were too caught up in their assumptions to notice. The delivery man finally spoke, his voice calm but firm. "I'd like to speak with the CEO," he said, watching their reactions carefully. The woman scoffed. "The CEO? Do you even know where you are?" The manager chuckled. "Oh, that's rich. You think the CEO has time for?" He stopped mid-sentence as the delivery man pulled out a keycard and placed it on the desk. The room went silent. The logo on the card matched the one on the wall. Eyes widened, faces paled. No one was laughing anymore. The silence in the room was deafening. The manager's smirk faded as he stared at the keycard, his brain struggling to process what was happening. The woman, who had been laughing just moments ago, shifted uncomfortably. The younger employee looked between them, eyes wide with realization. Before anyone could speak, the glass doors swung open. A senior executive hurried in, his face pale as he spotted the delivery man. "Sir, I didn't know you were coming in today," he stammered, glancing nervously at the stunned employees. The manager swallowed hard. "Sir, He echoed in disbelief. His confidence drained as he turned back to the man he had just insulted. The delivery man tilted his head slightly, watching their panic unfold. He could have revealed himself earlier, but he wanted to see the truth for himself. And now he had. But he wasn't done yet. What came next would change everything. The manager's face turned pale as the weight of his mistake sank in. The woman beside him took a small step back, suddenly unsure of herself. The senior executive, still catching his breath, glanced between them, then back at the delivery man. No, the owner of the company. The delivery man finally spoke, his voice steady. "So this is how you treat people who walk through these doors." He looked at each of them, letting the question sink in. No one dared to answer. He turned to the senior executive. "Tell me, how long have they been working here?" The executive hesitated. "A few years, sir." The owner nodded. Then they should know better. He picked up the key card and slid it back into his pocket. "Effective immediately, I want an internal review of how employees are treated here. And as for certain individuals," he let his words hang in the air, watching the manager's panic grow. But before the manager could plead his case, the owner looked at the younger employee, the only one who had hesitated earlier. "You," he said. "What's your name?" The young man straightened. "Ethan, sir." The owner nodded. "I need people who actually think before they act. Come with me." Ethan's eyes widened in shock, but he quickly followed. The others stood frozen, realizing the power had shifted completely. As the owner walked toward his office, he stopped and turned back one last time. "Oh, and by the way," he said, a small smile forming, "you can keep the package. Consider it a parting gift." With that, he walked away, leaving them standing in the ruins of their own arrogance. As the owner disappeared down the hallway with Ethan, the remaining employees stood frozen, the weight of their actions settling in. The manager looked at the package sitting on the desk, his hands trembling. Just moments ago, he had been so sure of his authority, so quick to judge. Now everything had changed. The woman turned to the senior executive, her voice barely above a whisper. "What happens now?" He sighed, shaking his head. "That's not up to me." Meanwhile, Ethan followed the owner into his office, still processing what had just happened. "Sir, why me?" he finally asked. The owner smiled. "Because you were the only one who questioned what was happening. That's the kind of leadership this company needs." As he took his seat behind the massive desk, he looked out at the city skyline. Today had been a lesson for them and for anyone who underestimated the power of respect.